welcome into KSL Sports Rewind, our 5A playoff recap and preview. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. My name is Dane Stewart. Please be joined by Jeff Hansen. Oh, Jeff, man, 5A. What a second round it was. Where do you want to start? I'll give you first choice.
Well, we had some good ones in 5A. I'm going to start where we were. Fremont and Alta, we thought this game was going to be close. The seed line, 15-2. Alta's been playing
Deceptive.
really good.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Fremont fans are looking at Alta and saying, 15? That they're underseeded. Come on, math. Help us out, RPI.
I had someone tell me that as I was walking in, by the way. They're like, they're underseeded. I'm like, yeah, I think they are too.
Yeah, I think they are, and they sure played like it. This game came down to the wire. Fremont gets the win, 31-27. It's Tristan Mann in the back of the end zone. I think there were, Dane? 30 seconds left in the game. Fourth down off of a pass interference.
Yeah, first of all, it was 4th and goal from the 10.
Right.
There's a questionable pass interference call. We won't get into opinions on that. So now, no automatic first downs off of that. So they move half the distance to goal, 4th and goal now from the 5.
And Alta gets right back on the ball. And I talked with some folks at Alta. They call their favorite play. This is the play that they go to when they need a big play, and boy, does it work. There is a guy open in the back of the end zone.
Their best receiver open in the back of the end zone.
There. Tucker Brown delivers a beautiful ball. It's in the hands of Evan Morton. Tristan Mann comes with the arm swipe late, breaks it up, secures the win for Fremont. That was a gutty defensive performance. They really, really played well down the stretch. And you saw some grittiness and some toughness from this Fremont team. There were injuries. Look, Cade Hadley's out for the year. That's a big blow to their offense and that rushing attack. But you had guys like Blanche and Graham step up, and that running game was able to keep going. And then you saw toughness from Manasseh Tuatagaloa. He was in and out of this game, dealing with injuries. You could see him getting worked on the sideline. When his team needed him most, he was there. He was in the game. He played incredibly well. He had 3 passing touchdowns, and he just displayed all of the toughness. And then when you've got Celesi Moa, that is the cheat code, right? When you can throw it deep to Celesi, he has 2 touchdown catches, and they're both long touchdown catches. He also has an interception on defense. He's the top-rated player in the state of Utah for a reason, and he played like it last night. Fremont looked good. Fremont was tested, maybe more than they wanted to be tested this early in the playoffs, but they passed that test. And if they can figure out a way to get healthy, we don't know what's wrong, what was going on with Manasseh, but he was back in the game to close. Hopefully he's healthy and able to go full, 100% next week. When you've got Celesi Moa and you've got that kind of toughness on the back end of your defense with Slade Parker and Tristan Mann, it's tough. They're going to be really tough to beat. I was really impressed with Fremont. I was impressed with the fight of Alta. I thought that they played really, really well as well. They found some momentum offensively, brought in a big heavy package. That was a lot of fun to watch. They fought. They could have quit. They fell down early. They did not. They kept battling back. So impressive fight from Alta, but I was impressed with Fremont, the way that they answered the bell and passed that early playoff test.
Lucas Pagel ran the ball extremely well for Alta. That was a big help. Their offensive line played really well up front. Tucker Brown was extremely accurate in this game. They needed him to be in this game, and they were. You talk about Tua Tagovailoa fighting through and just gritting through. You could tell he was not 100%.
Yeah.
That was pretty easy to see, but yet he still made some big throws and big moments. And you talk about Moa. Slade Parker also had a pair of receiving touchdowns. One of them he ran in from 19-plus yards out. This Fremont team, one concern that we had, I don't remember if we talked about it on air or not, but it was their region has maybe not had as top-end competitive level as some of the other regions. So when you've got to go and you've got to play a team from a Region 6 or you've got to play an Orem or someone like that, like what is your readiness for that game? And Fremont was ready for this game. They started out 10-0, but you start to see like the grittiness and resilience of Alta stay in it, fight back, take a lead in it. And I love the response from Fremont of not just caving in on a night where there were penalties and there were a lot of things that just didn't go their way. They had a punt that we thought was after the horn sounded, and that punt goes like -3 yards in net, right? I mean, it's just like one of those nights where things just don't always go their way, and they overcame it. So, heck of a game. Congratulations to Alta on making that one extremely close. A lot of Fremont fans were extremely nervous, both going into and as that game played out. But Fremont gets the win. That was a good one. How about Bountiful Jordan? This was the 8-9, or Bountiful West Jordan, I should say. This was the 8-9 game at West Jordan. Bountiful gets off to an early lead in this one, 14-0 in the first quarter. Looks like, okay, defending state champs going to do what they wanted to do. West Jordan does a great job fighting back in this game. Aiden Dunn has a pair of passing touchdowns. West Jordan comes back. They get to within 2. They was down 14-0, got back to 21-19, and then these two teams traded blows. Siaki Fekito, we mentioned he got hurt late in the year.
Yeah.
What was his readiness going to be? He looked pretty good. 3 rushing touchdowns, including the game winner, I think an 85-yard touchdown run with just under a couple minutes left to play to put Bountiful up for good. West Jordan gets a late touchdown, but can't end up coming back. So 34-32, Bountiful with the win. That Bountiful defense, which has been stingy all year long, West Jordan able to find a way to get points against it. We'll talk about the next matchup for Bountiful because it's going to get very challenging very quickly. But impressive for this Bountiful team, again, with some of the injuries they had at the end of the year, to be able to get off to a lead and again, to be able to kind of grit through it as West Jordan was giving them a run as the 9 seed Redhawks get the win.
Yeah, Siaki Fekitoa, you mentioned it. His health was the big question coming into this game. He looked good. 3 touchdowns of 3 yards, 50 yards, and 85 yards. It seems like every time he scores, it's from distance. That's just what he has done. Hudson Malmrose continues to get better. Pair of touchdown passes in this game. I'm with you. The defense, I think we'll talk about that as we look ahead a little bit. But Hudson Malmrose played well again. Back half of the season, he's played really well for Bountiful. I want to look at Orem and Timpview, another rivalry game. I love these rivalry games when they match up in the playoffs. This was a game that on paper, you look at records and box scores and things like that, Orem should run away with it. But you never expect an Orem-Timpview game to be a blowout, and it wasn't. Timpview showed a ton of fight in this game. They kept it close, but ultimately, Taden Kava, 3 passing touchdowns, and that was too much, right? That was too much for for Timpview to overcome. The Stars stepped up in a big way for Orem. Kai Wesley has a touchdown. Max Stonebreaker has a touchdown. Max Stonebreaker, we haven't talked a ton about him. He's played incredibly well all season long. When this Orem team starts to get everybody involved, they're really, really tough. The one thing that kind of stood out to me in this game, Isa Gallier, he did not score a touchdown. When Orem gets everybody going, they're tough. Kawe Akana did not score a touchdown in this game. Kava was spreading the ball around. He found Beck Coy. He found Mac Ellison. When he's able to do that, and when this offense is able to find that level of dynamics within themselves, they're going to be a really, really tough team to defend because you know that Galliai is still there. You know Akana is still there. They're going to find theirs as these playoff games continue. I was impressed with Orem. I was impressed with Timpview's fight. I was impressed with Orem's resiliency. They didn't let that rivalry get to them. They didn't beat themselves or lose control. Played a clean football game, and they got the win 40-22.
Yeah, there's a lot of other games we could talk about, Jeff, to recap, but man, these previews are so good. I want to go right to there. Let's start with that one because one of the games we could have talked about, Woods Cross beats Olympus 13-6, low scoring. Olympus defense did a great job limiting that Woods Cross offense. But now it's Woods Cross and Orem in the 4-5 game. Where do you want to start?
That's going to be, I think that's a really tough matchup for Woods Cross because I think defensively, you saw when you play a tough defense like Olympus found some success defensively. They were able to slow down that Woods Cross rushing attack. Orem's similar. They're built similarly to that Olympus defense. They've got the same kind of playmakers up front. They've got the same kind of weapons that are going to limit Jesse Simmons and that passing game a little bit in the secondary. Orem looks kind of similar to what Olympus does. Different styles, different base defenses, but in terms of playmakers and strengths, it's a similar makeup. But Orem brings a completely different test offensively than Olympus does. When you've got Taden Kava and you've got Isa Galliai and Kawe Akana, Max Stonebreaker, all these weapons, this is a tough matchup for Woods Cross defensively. I think that Woods Cross with Vili and that running game, they'll be able to find some success just because Vili is so good. It's going to be how well do they slow down that Orem offense for me. That's going to be the story of the game in this one.
I'm just looking. I think the most points they've given up this year is 37. Speaking of that Woods Cross defense. And this Orem team, they haven't been the Orem teams of its 40, 50, 60 every week, right? It's been kind of their defense has done a great job limiting opposing teams, and their offense has been in the 30s and 40s. So it'll be a fascinating game to see. Just thinking about Tapatautai, right? Plays both sides of the football, and how does he match up with a physical Orem team? That's a great one. I want to stay on that side of the bracket because we talked a little bit about Bountiful's defense. Gave up 32 to West Jordan. Well, now they're going to have to face the top-seeded West Panthers. And we didn't talk about West's game. There wasn't a lot to talk about other than Louis Hamilton and West putting up over 60 points.
My goodness.
How does Bountiful's defense try to slow down this electric West High offense?
Nobody's really been able to figure it out except for American Fork. So I think that's what Bountiful does. They turn on that tape and say, okay, what did AF do well and what can we replicate? And you look at the way Bountiful's built, there's some similarities with the way that those linebackers played, Dawson Alsop, and that entire linebacker crew. They're fast, they're physical, they're aggressive. That's the recipe that you need. But I don't know. Cadillac Hamilton, which we did confirm, that is his actual middle name, so that's good to know. Cadillac Hamilton, we're throwing Louis out the window now. He's just a Cadillac.
No. I'm staying with Louis, man.
He's so good. I mean, he had 6 rushing touchdowns in this one for West. He's had, I don't know what the official box score is. I think it's 10,000 touchdowns this year. It just feels like every week he's got 5 or 6. He's been unreal. He's a tough guy to stop. And if you do, Camden Lopati still has a ton of weapons. He's still a really good quarterback. West is really dynamic. I think this is going to be a tough test for that Bountiful defense, but I know that they're going to watch a lot of that AF tape and try to replicate what AF did earlier this season.
We move to the other side. We talk about Fremont, obviously having a tough battle against Alton. They've got to stay now with another Region 6 opponent, Brighton. They looked dominant. I mean, just a dominant win over Granger. And Palapoy was back. He's throwing the football. They're running the football. We talk about Alta being underseeded as a 15. Brighton maybe underseeded a bit as a 7. Now, I know the year didn't start off great for them record-wise. It's why they ended up where they did. But your co-region, Region 6 champ, have to take up to Plain City for this game. When you look at Brighton's offense coming in, what do you think Fremont has to do to try to slow them down?
Yeah, you've got to find a way to slow down that rushing attack. Rice Palapoy's dynamic with his arm. He can beat you with his arm, but he can beat you with his legs. And Brighton is built with Heemeyer and Gutierrez, if he's able to go. They're built to win on the ground. And when you go back to what Alta did, Alta saw something there as well. Pagel hadn't been a guy that runs a ton every single game, but against Fremont he did, and he had some success. Can Fremont match that physicality up front? That's a big Brighton offensive line, and that's a really potent rushing attack. That's to me, that's the story of the game here. Is are the Fremont linebackers able to play aggressive enough? Is the defensive line with Jack Masters, are they able to eat up enough blocks to free up those linebackers so that they can stop that Brighton rushing attack? Brighton's going to test them, and I think they're going to test them in ways that maybe they haven't been tested since like corner. I mean, it's been a long time since they've seen a rushing attack like Brighton's. That's going to be the story of the game.
This will be a fascinating game of kind of 2 different tempos, right? Brighton doesn't play slow.
Right.
They play methodical. Fremont, we saw them, they're running up to the lines like, hey, if we can snap that before 30 on the play clock, we're happy, right? I mean, they are on the ball and go. It'd be interesting to see which of those 2 tempos is able to win out in this one. It'd be a tough match for Fremont in this quarterfinal game. The last quarterfinal game coming up. We didn't talk about either of these 2 teams in their second round performances, but they were both looked extremely good. Box Elder, Judd Howells, 3 rushing touchdowns as they defeated Westfield. And then you have Springville. And you talk about the balance of Orem. I really want to say the balance of Springville. They had 4 different players with a rushing touchdown in this one. Yeah. 4 different guys. It's Springville football, stout defense, run the football. They can throw it. I mean, what do you think when you think of these 2 running games, Box Elder, Springville? Can the Bees stun Springville?
It's going to be a tough Springville just looked so dominant on both sides of the ball. Yeah. I think that's the area of this game that's going to make it really tough for Box Elder. Is I don't know if Box Elder could slow down that Springville rushing attack. That's a big test. Great. I don't know that they could score against the Springville defense. Even with Judd Howells and that potent offense that they've got up there in Brigham City, Springville has been as dominant defensively as they have been on the ground offensively. And we don't talk about it a ton, but they are big, they are physical, they are fast. I think that's going to be the toughest thing for Box Elder is how do they find the points to pull off the upset. The Indies still got to figure out how to slow them down. Springville just casually puts up 49 points last week. That's the big tie. I don't know how they score with Judd Howells. I think he's good enough to do it, but that's going to be a tough ask.
Basically chalk in the 5A state playoffs. Bountiful's the 9 seed. They upended the 8 seed. Other than that, everything is chalk in 5A. Jeff, when you look at these upcoming quarterfinal games, what is the game in 5A that has you most intrigued or like that one is going to be game of the week?
That West and Bountiful game, I think, could be a lot of fun. Just because I think that Bountiful is built similarly to AF, and AF did have some success. They're not AF. They're not as big up front, but they're similar. And Bountiful has that championship mindset. They've been to the title game 2 years in a row. They're coming off of a state championship. The guys in that room, Coach Freck, they believe that they can win no matter where they're seated and no matter who they are playing. This is going to be a tough mental test for West as much as it is a test on the field. I think that game, West hasn't been tested in a long time. So how do they respond if they are tested in this one? This one could be closer than I think people expect.
Interesting. I'm going to go Fremont Brighton.
Yeah.
I think that was one for me. Obviously, the health of Tua Tagovailoa will be big.
Huge story.
But Brighton, that balance, again, if they can keep that Fremont offense on the sideline, I think that'll be a really, really good one. Brighton healthy, Fremont nursing some injuries. Who can kind of step up for Fremont on both sides, offensively and defensively, as they try to keep this fantastic run alive, being the Silver Wolves and the Bengals, who've looked like a different team since week 5. Man, so many great matchups coming up this week. I'm really excited for 5A. We're going to have 5A games for you on Friday night. First, we'll have Woods Cross at Orem for you right here on KSL Sports Rewind. We'll also have Brighton at Fremont for you right here on KSL Sports Rewind. And Team Hive, great partner with KSL Sports, will have the Box Elder Springville game. 3 of the quarterfinal games you can catch live right on KSLSports.com. Cannot wait to bring them to you as these teams fight for a right to advance to the 5A semifinal at Rice Eccles in just a week. For Vince Francis, Jeff Hansen, my name is Dane Stewart. Thank you for joining us on our 5A playoff recap and preview.